Everyone, and welcome to another episode of Crush That Exam. My name is Dr. Erica Liggins, licensed clinical psychologist and exam coach. I have yet another example of someone who has overcome the EPPP, and I'm excited to share their story with you. So, can you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about who you are?
Hello, I am Dr. Beverly eBay. I am a PsyD, so I have a PsyD in clinical psychology. And prior to that, I received my master's in clinical mental health counseling and concentration in couples and family therapy.
Wonderful. And what setting do you typically work in, like at this time?
Yeah, so right now I'm working with adults. Primarily see adults that are neurodivergent, adults experiencing mood disorders, anxiety. I work with couples as well, so I do a lot of interpersonal relational work. And I'm also doing assessments, so assessments for ADHD, assessments for like fertility evaluations and things like that. So I'm really looking forward to kind of sharing a little bit about my story.
Wonderful. So let's get right into it. So you came to me about, well, we'll get into like how long we worked together later, but tell us, what was your experience like with the EPPP, preparing for it and everything before you started working with me?
Oh my gosh. Before coaching, I felt like, first off, it was really isolating. So I felt like I was kind of by myself. I mean, a lot of my friends were studying for it, but with their own separate programs, and everyone was just kind of doing their own thing. And so I felt very isolated. It was not as consistent as when I started the coaching program and not as disciplined. So I remember generally just studying a few hours after work, but it was not like systemic in the way that we had created the system in the coaching program to kind of hit on every topic each week. I wasn't doing that, and so it was pretty stressful. And I ended up failing. I had studied for I think about 6 to 8 months, but I feel like probably really studied for like 4 to 5 because the distractions, like I said, I didn't have the type of discipline and consistency that I had when I started the coaching program. And you introduced me to this kind of structure and way of studying that was a bit different for me. And so I had actually also been experiencing some grief and loss in my life. I had lost my grandmother, and so I had taken the time to grieve, and I actually ended up postponing my exams several times. This was in 2022. I postponed my exam several times, and then I thought to myself, well, it's been almost a year. I should be ready. I've been studying. I didn't really think about the impact of grief for myself. And I think I was also having a bit of perfectionism. Like I was like, well, you're not going to fail. You never fail. When you study, you get things. And so it was a huge shock to me to not pass on the first try. And it really rocked me, and it rocked my confidence. And yeah, it was hard to kind of pick myself back up to start again.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like many of my coaching clients, you had a really challenging experience. It's hard to balance it with work. Life also threw you some curveballs, and you kind of were just trying to push through and get it done, but that didn't quite work out. So, how did you end up hearing about my services?
Yeah, so I actually, like I said, I was crushed after I failed. And so one of my good friends, I think she had been using your services as well, or she had started to, and she recommended, she said, maybe, you need some help with someone to kind of help just structure how to tackle the test. And at first I was, kind of adverse to it. I was like, I don't know if I need a coach. I mean, generally I know what to study. Maybe I just need to study more. And I think with just the stressors from like financially, I was having stress. I was having some family crises, the grief. It was a lot. And I was thinking to myself, how does anyone tackle this test? How does anyone tackle this exam with so much going on in their lives? So I ended up reaching out to you. And I think I did my consultation in January, but I actually walked away from that consultation feeling so relieved because I remember you telling me you are not ready. Yeah, I was so stressed out. I was mentally burnt out,
Mhm.
psychologically burnt out from work, from stress, from crisis, loss. And you said to me, you're not ready to start, take 3 months. to just take a break and focus on your mental health, focus on your self-care. And I was relieved because I don't think I actually gave myself permission to do that. I wanted to just like, I was afraid that, I wouldn't be able to try it again if I didn't keep pushing. But you told me the exact opposite. You were like, absolutely not. You're not ready right now. Take a break. And so I came back in April feeling so much more confident, rested, and I felt ready to start.
I remember that. I remember. And I remember
Yeah.
seeing like kind of like the relief in your face, even like when I was like, it was like,
Not
oh,
now.
it was like somebody gave you permission to
Yes.
just be okay with not being okay in that moment and knowing that it's all right to focus on yourself, that this test
Absolutely.
will be there and we can come back to it, right? I think sometimes we're operating in such urgency, which I mean, there are real life things that are happening for people, that deadlines and certain things that do put pressure on people. But in your situation, we decided the best thing to do would be to just take a break. And
Yeah.
so once you did come back a few months later and you started my coaching program, what do you think were the top three most helpful things about my coaching program, which includes the audio program, one on one sessions, and of course, the study groups that we do together, where we study together but independently?
For I mean, I think first off, it was collaborative. You have a you have very clear methods, right? And structured plans that help people with learning the way they learn best, right? And so you tailor it to the person, but you kind of start from a foundation of having a lot of clarity and structure. And you were able to kind of talk with me about those things. And so I felt like it was really collaborative. We could, you shared some methods with me, and I said, I don't know if that would work for me because I'm this type of learner. And I felt heard by you, right, in that initial consultation. And so that was really great to feel like I also had a hand in structuring the type of plan that I was going to use. And I didn't feel like it was kind of placed on me and that I didn't believe in the plan. I felt very much, bought into the plan, right, when we kind of talked about it. And then also I love the structure of the domino effect, or the snowball
Snowball effect,
the
yeah.
snowball effect. I love the structure of that. I don't think I'd ever used that before throughout my educational career to study. And it just helped me tremendously to be able to know that it worked better for me to touch the material consistently, like in a kind of like a cyclical manner. Like it was just like robotic. Like I was going to touch every single piece of content each week. And so there was never any, lapse of time where I was forgetting things. And so I really appreciated that. And then also I really love your the videos that you had, the assessments that you had, the feedback forms, like the practice exam feedback forms, like the study strategy, the practice exam strategies that, those videos that I had to watch to kind of create my the kind of create the steps of tackling each exam, each practice exam, and then subsequently the actual exam. I just felt like you were giving me like a cookbook recipe to how to take a really horrible, hard, standardized exam. And it was just, I felt really grateful to just have those clearer steps, and it worked. It worked. The formula worked. It came together and made a really nice dish, let's say, because I passed. Because I passed.
Yes,
So,
and you passed the exam easily, which is
yeah,
great.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
so interesting how you went from feeling crushed after the first time you took the exam to crushing it the next
yeah,
time you took it.
yeah, yeah. And
Isn't
I,
that
I
interesting?
scored so much higher than I anticipated I would, which told me that I was more than ready, which is, I mean, it was like night and day, because I had failed by like 123 points the first time. And the second time I passed, I had passed by over 72 points. It was just really nice that I felt so much more confident the second time around, even more than the first time around. I didn't feel as confident going in that first time. And the content knowledge for me was clear. It was, yeah, it was night and day. It
It
was
was
night
a
and day.
beautiful experience. So
Yeah.
we got to work together for a period of time. So we started at January and then a whole year
I
went
came back.
by.
Well,
Yep.
I came
A
back
few
in
months later.
April. Then we started like April, May to,
Yep.
yeah. hmm
And then you passed the test the following May.
So it was essentially 12 full months of studying this process of, I mean, things were happening in my life. I remember taking a couple weeks off here and there. You know, you had told
Mhm.
me after the first section of studying where I had to handwrite all the notes, I remember taking a break. I took like, I think a week or two off just to give myself a bit of just a breather because it
Yeah.
was a lot. And then, I took a break when I had a crisis in February, just 3 months before I took the exam. Took a little break then as well, and you were so supportive of it because I had been so consistent and disciplined that it made sense to give myself that breathing room so that I could be well enough to return versus pushing through the pain, pushing through the crises, and trying to like do everything at once. I think that was one of my biggest takeaways that sometimes I do have to kind of put things down, pick up, self-care, and then,
Absolutely.
get myself, situated and then come back to it. So
Yeah, because we tell our clients to do that all the time, don't we?
yeah, yeah, to
But then
put stuff down.
we don't always do
Yep.
it,
I
right?
thought I could do everything at once. I was like, I can do it
Yeah.
all.
I know. So humbling this process is. So that leads me to my next question was what was the hardest thing you had to overcome during this process?
Oh my gosh. Man, I would definitely say just some of the crises that I went through, family stuff. I mean, I remember talking with you about even setting boundaries, about how to compartmentalize my role and involvement with, helping family and helping friends through difficult things that do I couldn't be everything for everyone. And if I was going to do this for myself, I really had to prioritize my own needs, my emotional needs, my physical needs, right? And so that meant setting some pretty hard boundaries at times. And so that was one of the hardest things, I think, because when you are in this process, I don't think people truly understand how much you have to sacrifice of your time and having others have so much access to you all of the time. And I really had to restrict a lot of things. And so you really get to find out really who's in your corner because,
Mm,
a lot of people, might not support that, even though they know it's what you need to pass. They might not support you restricting access, right? To be able to focus on what you need to pass this exam. And so that was my biggest thing. The boundaries. Oh my gosh. It was
yeah,
huge for me,
huge
but I
because
needed it. I needed it.
yes, because helpers love to help. And
hmm
sometimes we need to help ourselves, you know? And I think that's why in my coaching program, I bring my systemic therapeutic approach that I have with in my clinical work to coaching. That's why there's a whole page on the website that's
hmm
for your friends and family
hmm
so that they can learn and better understand how they need to show up,
hmm
right? And in the audio program, the master plan where I'm teaching about how to pass the exam, dealing with your support system and tips around that is in there
hmm
too. It has to
Absolutely.
be
I remember
everywhere
that.
in the process because
Mhm.
you don't live under a rock by yourself,
Right. Right.
so we have to address those things. So,
Yeah.
is there anything that you would have done differently with your whole journey
Mhm.
now that you look back?
Honestly, I mean, I was even going to just for that last question too. One thing I forgot to mention was just the anxiety of it all that I had to tackle. I had to
Mm,
get help for that. I had to get support for that. I had to go and see therapists, psychiatry. I had to go to get additional support for myself to be able to sit for this exam, in a way that was different from the first time, right? I was battling somatic performance anxiety, kind of, having all of those symptoms and ignoring it and just being so crippled by, sitting through that exam and the rumination of failing and what it would mean and all these things. So this time around, I think I'm pretty proud of myself because I was able to ask for help for a lot of things that I
Yes.
normally wouldn't have asked
Mhm.
for help for. And I think I would do it again. I think this time around, I employed every tactic that I possibly could to assist me. And I think that's one thing I would recommend to do everything that you can. So I don't have any regrets really. I think more so if I were to do this again, I would maybe believe in myself as much as you believed in me
Oh,
because I mean, I had a lot of self-doubt. I mean, I was planning my plan B of life. Like, what am I going to do if I don't pass this
right.
ever?
Yeah.
So I was like creating life plan Bs. And you were telling me there's no need to do that because you're going to pass. And I was like, just in case I don't pass, what else can I do with this degree?
It feels like
So,
that when you're in it. And, as a coach,
yeah.
I think one of the things I love the most is watching people grow in their belief. Like when they
Yeah.
start to catch up to where I am, because I know from the beginning they're going to pass, but they
Right.
don't feel that way. But you started to, I saw your confidence growing as you were going through the snowball method. It was growing.
Yeah, it
And I
was.
think the day you walked in there, you believed just as much as I believed in you. And
I
it was a
did.
beautiful process to
I
watch as a
did.
coach. Oh my
I
gosh.
did. I felt so confident. I mean, I felt like I had the blueprint. I felt like I had everything. We had simulated the practice exams
Oh,
to match the day of I mean, everything it was just like I had, when you practice for like a ballet recital or something, and then on the day of, you finally perform and all your hard work, that's how I felt. Like it had just accumulated to just
yes.
this, yeah,
You
amazing
got your
experience. And
standing
it worked.
ovation
I
up
got
there.
my standing ovation and I boohooed and I snot cried and it was great.
It was wonderful. I remember listening to the voicemail that you sent me.
I was
Honestly,
screaming.
listened to it like 10 times and just bawled my eyes out.
Oh my gosh.
It was,
I was
I cry
screaming
right
and
now
crying. I was screaming and crying. Like, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. I did it. I can't believe it.
because you really came through so much. See,
Yeah.
people don't know what people are going through this during this process, but you came through it all. I mean, there were times where stuff was happening to you where even I was like, is this real life? Because you were just being
Right.
tested
Right.
in so many, you would write a book. I mean, this was
Yeah.
a lot that happened, but you just
Yeah.
kept soldiering through, but in a way that was from self-compassion and great. You didn't just soldier through like
Hmm.
in an unhealthy way. Like we found a way to keep moving forward,
Yeah.
but in a way that really made sure you were cared for in the process. And it
Yes.
was
Yes.
magical. So just
Yes.
two final questions.
Of course.
One of which is what would you tell someone who is considering to, start my coaching program?
For one, I would say listen to Erica. Listen to Dr. Erica. She knows what she's doing. She knows what she's doing. I mean, I think at first I remember my self-doubt crept in, so much. And I would say to you, I can't do that. You would say, well, for the last few weeks, we're going to ramp up to 25 hours. I said, I can't do that. It's like, it was a lot of I can't that turned into I will, and I did, right? I
Yeah,
will do that. And I did do that. So I would say, absolutely, please follow and have faith in the plans. And then I would just say also like the discipline, the consistency, and the sacrifice are the three things I really held on to. It takes discipline. It really does take that repetition that just like it feels like you're on a hamster wheel sometimes,
yeah.
but just it can feel that way like I'm just doing the same thing
Mm.
over and over and over and over, but the formula works. I was like, I just want to tell people, do not give up because there is a light at the end, and that sacrifice and that, coming in, checking out every day, keeping up with coaching, it does work. Just believe in it.
Beautiful. And last but not least, now that you are free from the EPPP, what's something professional as well as personal that you're looking forward to now that you have your time back?
I'm really excited to, well, because I'm in a state that requires a law portion, I'm going to kind of finish that out and then finish through with the license process.
Mhm.
But I'm really excited to focus on my practice and being full time, and just really focusing on my career. I'm really excited to date again and like hang out with my friends and go to brunch and go to the beach on the weekends. Cause every single weekend I was waking up at 7, 8 a.m. to study for 6 hours. And so it was sacrifice for months. My friends are like, when are you going to take this exam? Because we miss you. Like, when are you coming back to our lives?
Well, you're
So
back. You're about to be back now.
so I'm really excited to just explore the city again, sleep in. I've been sleeping in on Saturdays. It's just been really nice. And then yeah, personally, I just want to be able to hone in on my practice and do more of what I love full time versus, part time because I was studying for this exam. So, yeah.
Beautiful. Well, you know, I'm excited for you. And I just wish you nothing but so much prosperity,
Thank
so much
you.
peace, and just loads of fun.
Thank you. I'm so excited. I'm back. Thank you so much. I just want to say like you changed my life. I don't think I had thought about what my life would be like after this moment because I'd been so afraid I would never get to it. And so you changed my life. So thank you so much.